Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec back with another video for you guys. Today's video, we are going to continue on with TryHackMe. This is the Junior Penetration Tester, Learning Path, Network Security area, and this is the Nmap Live Host Discovery Room. Learn how to use Nmap to discover live hosts using ARP scan, ICMP scan, and TCP UDP ping scan. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Task 1, Introduction. When we want to target a network, we want to find an efficient tool to help us handle repetitive tasks and answer the following questions. First question is, which systems are up? The second question says, what systems are running on, what services are running on these systems? The tool that we will rely on is Nmap. The first question about finding live computers is answered in this room. This room is the first in a series of 4 rooms dedicated to Nmap. The second question about discovering running services is answered in the next Nmap rooms that focus on port scanning. This room is the first of 4 in an Nmap series. These 4 rooms are also part of the network security module. And here's the list of the rooms here. You got the live host discovery, basic port scans, advanced port scans, and the post port scans. The room explains the steps that Nmap carries out to discover the systems that are outlined or online before port scanning. This stage is crucial because trying to port scan offline systems will only waste time and create unnecessary noise on the network. We present the different approaches that Nmap uses to discover live hosts. In particular, we cover ARP scan. This scan uses ARP requests to discover live hosts. ICMP scan. This scan uses ICMP requests to identify live hosts. 3. TCP UDP ping scan. This scan sends packets to TCP ports and UDP ports to determine live hosts. We also introduce 2 scanners, ARP scan and mass scan, and explain how they overlap with part of Nmap's host discovery. As already mentioned, starting with this room, we will use Nmap to discover systems and services actively. Nmap was created by Gordon Lyon Fyodor, a network security expert and open source programmer. It was released in 1997. Nmap, short for Network Mapper, is a free open source software released under the GPL license. Nmap is an industry standard tool for mapping networks, identifying live hosts, and discovering running services. Nmap's scripting engine can further extend its functionality from fingerprinting services to exploiting vulnerabilities. A Nmap scan usually goes through the steps shown in the figure below, although many are optional and depend on the command line arguments you provide. And here's the steps here that they're talking about. Enumerate targets, discover live hosts, reverse DNS lookup, scan ports, etc. here. Be sure to read that. And let's continue on to task number 2 here. I'm going to talk about subnetworks. Let's review a couple of terms before we move on to the main task. A network segment is a group of computers connected using a shared medium. For example, or instance, the medium can be the Ethernet switch or Wi-Fi access point. In an IP network, a subnet is usually the equivalent of one or more network segments connected together and configured to use the same router. The network segment refers to a physical location or physical connection, while a subnetwork refers to a logical connection. In the following network diagram, we have 4 network segments or subnetworks. Generally speaking, your system would be connected to one of these network segments / subnetworks. A subnetwork, or simply a subnet, has its own IP address range and is connected to a more extensive network via a router. There might be a firewall enforcing security policies depending on each network. And here is a graphic of, or diagram of what they're talking about here, different networks here. The figure above shows 2 types of subnets. You got a /16, which means that the subnet mask has been written as the following: 255.255.0.0. The subnet can have around 65,000 hosts, and then the /24 indicates that the subnet mask is expressed as 255.255.255.0. The subnet can have around 250 hosts. You might want to refer to task 2 and Intro to LAN room if you need to learn more about subnetting, so check that out if you're unfamiliar with that. As part of active reconnaissance, we want to discover more information about a group of hosts or about a subnet. If you are connected to the same subnet, you would expect your scanner to rely on ARP, which is Address Resolution Protocol, queries to discover live hosts. An ARP request or query aims to get the hardware MAC address so that communication over the link layer becomes possible. However, we can use this to infer that the host is online. We revisit link layer in task number 4. If you are in network A, we can use ARP only to discover the devices within a subnet, which is the 10.1.100.0/24. Suppose you are connected to a subnet different from the subnet of the target systems. In that case, all packets generated by your scanner will be routed via the default gateway, which is the router, to reach the systems on another subnet. However, the ARP queries won't be routed and hence cannot cross the subnet router. ARP is a link layer protocol, and ARP packets are bound to their subnet. Click on the View Site button and start the network simulator. We will use the simulator to answer questions in task 2, 4, and 5. So let's go ahead and view site real quick. All right, now we have the site pulled up here, and they want us to configure it like this, and I already have that in here. Computer 6 as the data, send packet. So you guys scroll up to the top, and it wants to determine how many devices the ARP request went to. As you saw there, it went 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 is going to be our answer for this particular question. And did computer 6 receive the ARP request? Well, no, it did not. Let's see, it got stopped at the router level. And I'm not sure why this is in here twice, unless this is something, okay, yeah, computer 4, there we go. So computer 4 to computer 4, and same information in here, ARP request, so send packet. Let's see what it does here. And let's see here, how many devices can see the ARP request? And looks like it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4 for that. And it says, did computer 6 reply to the ARP request? Yes, it did. So task number 3 here, I'm going to talk about enumerating targets. We mentioned the different techniques we can use for scanning in task number 1. Before we explain each in detail and put it into use against a live target, we need to specify the targets we want to scan. Generally speaking, you can provide a list, a range, or a subnet. Examples of target specification are the following here: list, and you got machine name, yada yada yada. Example.com, which will scan 3 IP addresses, range 10.11.12.15 to 20. We'll scan 6 IP addresses. And let's see here. You got 10.11.12.15, 16, and dot 20. Then subnet, machine IP /30 will scan 4 IP addresses. So you can also provide a file as input for your list of targets, Nmap dash lowercase I, capital L, and then the name of the file that contains those targets. In this case, it's going to be list underscore of underscore host.txt. If you want to check the list of hosts that Nmap will scan, you can use Nmap dash lowercase s, capital L, then targets. This option will give you a detailed list of the hosts that Nmap will scan without scanning them. However, Nmap will attempt a reverse DNS resolution on all the targets to obtain their names. Names might reveal various information to the penetration tester. If you don't want Nmap to do DNS server, you can add the dash lowercase n option. Launch the attack box. Using the attack box, open the terminal. When the attack box is ready, use Nmap to answer the following. So let's go ahead and start that up and come back to the video. So we have our Nmap command ready to go here. And I'm just going to hit enter and see what it says. It looks like there are a total of 8 IP addresses in this. So what is the first IP address in Nmap if you were to scan? So this is going to be this one here. So I'm just going to copy this out of here and paste like so. There we go. And the next one says how many IP addresses will Nmap scan show if you do the following here. So if we just let's clear all this out first. And then if hit up arrow, let's backspace out of this stuff here. And let's go ahead and paste this information inside. So as this is running, it'll tell us how many IP addresses were in there. And it says 6400 down there. So let's go ahead and type that in there, 6400. There we go. And let's continue on to task number 4, discovering live hosts. Let's revisit the TCP IP layers shown in the figure next. We will leverage the protocols to discover the live host. Starting from the bottom to top, we can use ARP for link layer, ICMP for network layer, TCP for transport layer, UDP for transport layer. And this is how it looks here. You got the OSI model over here, and you got the TCP IP model on the right. Before we discuss how scanners can use each in detail, we will briefly review these 4 protocols. ARP has one purpose, sending a frame to the broadcast address on the network segment and asking the computer with a specific IP address to respond by providing its MAC address. ICMP has many types. ICMP pings uses type 8 echo and type 0 echo reply. If you want to ping a system on the same subnet, an ARP query should precede the ICMP echo. Although TCP and UDP are transport layers for network scanning purposes, a scanner can send a specifically crafted packet to common TCP or UDP ports to check whether the target will respond. The method is efficient, especially when ICMP echo is blocked. If you have closed the network simulator, click on the view site button in task 2 to display it again. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. View site, go back down to 4. So we have it open now. Now let's answer some questions here. Send a packet with the following information. And it says computer 1 to computer 3. So change that and then ping request like so. What is the type of packet that computer 1 sent before the ping? So let's go ahead and take a look here. Well, as we read above, we already know that's going to be an ARP request, right? So ARP request. What is the type of packet that computer 1 received before being able to send the ping? Now, if we're paying attention to the network log area here, we can see that there's an ARP request, and the next one should be the ARP response that we got back. So ARP response, if I can spell response, there we go. How many computers responded to the ping request? And let's see if it says it in here. Let's just do it again. So we got, let's see here. So one machine. Send a packet with the following information here from computer 2 to computer 5. So computer 2 to computer 5, and then ping request again. What is the name of the first device that responded to the first ARP request? Let's go and do this. And it looks like the router was the first one to respond. What is the name of the first device that responded to the second ARP request? I believe that was computer 2. No. Okay, let's check this real quick down here. Okay, yeah. I'm the router, send ping request packet from computer 2 to computer 5. So send another ping request. Did it require new ARP request? So let's go ahead and try it again. And answer is going to be no. So task number 5 here, we're going to talk about Nmap host discovery using ARP. And let's see what they say. How would you know which hosts are up and running? It is essential to avoid wasting our time port scanning an offline host or an IP address not in use. There are various ways to discover online hosts. When no host discovery options are provided, Nmap follows the following approaches to discover live hosts. Number 1, when a privileged user tries to scan targets on a local network, Ethernet, Nmap uses ARP request. A privileged user is root, or a user who belongs to the sudoers and can run sudo. When a privileged user tries to scan targets outside the local network, Nmap uses ICMP echo request, TCP ACK for acknowledge to port 80, TCP send synchronize to port 443 and ICMP timestamp requests. 3. When an unprivileged user tries to scan targets outside the local network, Nmap resorts to a TCP three-way handshake by sending send packets to ports 80 and 443. Nmap by default uses a ping scan to find live targets, then proceeds to scan live hosts only. If you want to use Nmap to discover online hosts without port scanning the live systems, you can issue this following command: nmap dash lowercase s lowercase n and then the targets. Let's dig deeper to gain a solid understanding of the different techniques used. ARP scan is possible only if you are on the same subnet as the target systems. On an Ethernet and Wi-Fi, you need to know the MAC address of any system before you can communicate with it. The MAC address is necessary for the link layer header. The header contains the source MAC address and the destination MAC address, among other fields. To get the MAC address, the OS sends an ARP query. A host that replies to ARP queries is up. The ARP query only works if the target is on the same subnet as yourself, i.e. on the same Ethernet/Wi-Fi. You should expect to see many ARP queries generated during an Nmap scan of a local network. If you want Nmap only to perform an ARP scan without port scanning, you can use the following command: nmap dash P R dash lowercase s lowercase n targets, where dash P R indicates that you only want an ARP scan. The following example shows Nmap using ARP for host discovery without any port scanning. We run the following command here: nmap dash P R dash lowercase s lowercase n machine IP/24 to discover all the live systems on the same subnet as our target. And this is what it looks like here. It says in this case, the attack box had the IP address of 10.10.210.6 and it used ARP request to discover live hosts on the same subnet. ARP scan works as shown in the figure below. Nmap sends ARP requests to all the target computers, and those online should send an ARP reply back. So if we flip over to the attack box and try this out here, I'm just going to copy and paste. Like so. So if let me do this, clear all this stuff out of here, and then paste. Now while that's running, let's go ahead and continue on with this. Oh, okay, cool, it finished already. If we take a look at the packets generated using a tool such as TCP, dump, or Wireshark, we will see network traffic similar to the figure below. In the figure below, Wireshark displays the source MAC address, destination MAC address, protocol, and query related to each ARP request. The source address is the MAC address of our attack box, while the destination is the broadcast address, as we don't know the MAC address of the target. However, we see the target's IP address, which appears in the info column. In the figure, we can see that we are requesting the MAC addresses of all the IP addresses on the subnet, starting with 10.10.2, 10.1. The host with the IP address we are talking about or asking about will send an ARP reply with its MAC address, and that's how we will know that is online. And this is what it looks like here. Talking about ARP scans, we should mention a scanner built around ARP queries, which is ARP-scan. It provides many options to customize your scan. Visit the wiki here for more detailed information. One popular choice is ARP scan local net or simply ARP scan -L, and I've used this before on like exams and stuff like that. So this is very handy. So be sure to put this in your toolbox. All right. If I can spell correctly, just copy and paste this in. And ARP scan is not found. Okay. Well, let's continue on here. This command will send ARP queries to all valid IP addresses on your local network. Moreover, if your local system has more than one interface and you are interested in discovering the live host on one of them, you can specify the interface using the -I. For instance, sudo arpscan -I ethernet 0-L will send ARP queries for all valid IP addresses on the ETH0 interface. Note that ARPscan is not installed on attack box, which we just discovered here. However, it can be installed using apt install ARPscan. In the example below, we scan the subnet of the attack box using the following here. So let me see if I can install this real quick. Be sure to install this on your machine if you want to do so. Let's go ahead and copy and paste this in here. And looks like it's going to work. So while that's downloading and installing, in the example below, we scanned the subnet attack box using the following here. Since we ran the scan at a time frame close to the previous one, Nmap, yada yada yada, we obtained the same 3 live targets. Should look like the following here. Similarly, the command ARP scan will generate many ARP queries that we can see using TCP dump, Wireshark, or a similar tool. We can notice that the packet capture for ARP scan and Nmap-PR-SN yield similar patterns for traffic. Below is the Wireshark output. Once again, there we go. And it looks like it's finally installed, so let's go ahead and clear all this out of here. And let's try this, ARP-scan-L. There we go, and that's picking up some stuff here. And then it wanted this to try this other stuff here. I'm going to copy this out as soon as this finishes. Or maybe we can just open up a new tab and try it here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put in the attack box IP, which is going to be 10.10.80.81.161. There we go. 256 hosts, yada yada yada. Okay, so this doesn't appear to have worked. Okay, well, let's try it with Nmap and see what it does. Not sure if this is going to work inside of this attack box or not, but we'll find out. All right. Um, okay, so this one seemed to work. I'm not sure what happened with the other command up there. But anyway, let's continue on here. If you have closed the network simulator, click the visit site button, task 2 to display it again. So we'll do that here right now. Flip back over. And let's answer these questions here. So we'll be sending broadcast ARP requests packets with the following options from computer 1. So that's already set in there. To computer 1, already set. And it's going to be ARP request. And then data is going to be try all the possible 8 devices other than computer 1 and network, computer 2, computer 3, computer 4, 5, 6, switch 1, 2, and router. How many devices are you able to discover using ARP requests? Hey everybody, just a quick little blurb here. As you can see here, most people that view my channel are not subscribers. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you're enjoying the video, please consider hitting the like button. It helps get me in the algorithm, helps spread the good word out there, helps bring more people and increase our glorious community here. All right, I'm all about helping out others. I know what it's like to come up in cybersecurity or even try to get into cybersecurity and not knowing where to look. I'm just having this channel up so I can help out other people. All right, that's all I got. Okay, so after you've played around with it a bit, you'll come to find out that only 3 devices were able to be discovered. Let's continue on to task number 6 here. And we're going to talk about Nmap host discovery using ICMP, also known as ping. We can ping every IP address on a target network and see who would respond to our ping request, what they ping reply. Simple, isn't it? Although this would be the straightforward approach, it is not always reliable. Many firewalls block ICMP echo. New versions of Microsoft Windows are configured with a host firewall that blocks ICMP echo requests by default. However, remember that an ARP query will precede the ICMP request if your target is on the same subnet. To use the ICMP echo request to discover live host, add the option dash capital P capital E. Remember to add dash lowercase s lowercase n if you don't want to follow that with a port scan. As shown in the following figure, an ICMP echo scan works by sending an ICMP echo request and expects the target to reply with an ICMP echo reply if it is online. And this is an example of what it looks like here: echo request and echo reply, host is live. Um, and the example, we scanned the target subnet using the following command here: nmap dash capital P capital E lowercase s lowercase n machine IP slash 24. This scan will send ICMP echo packets to every IP address on the subnet. Again, we expect live host to reply. However, it is wise to remember that many firewalls block ICMP. The output below shows the result of scanning the virtual machine's class C subnet using the following command here from the attack box. So I'm just going to copy and paste this in here and flip back over to the attack box and paste this over like so. And it should look like the screenshot that we can see here once it finishes running. Okay, we got similar information here. Says the scan output shows that 8 hosts are up. Moreover, it shows their MAC address. Generally speaking, we don't expect to learn the MAC addresses of the targets unless they are on the same subnet as our system. The output above indicates that Nmap didn't need to send ICMP packets, as it is confirmed that these hosts are up based on the ARP responses it received. We will repeat the scan. However, this time we will scan from a system that belongs to a different subnet. The results are similar, but without the MAC addresses. And I can see the MAC addresses in my scan here. So let's go ahead and clear all this stuff out of here and copy and paste this over so we can see what they're talking about here. All right, now we should have a similar information as the screenshot here. And it looks like it is still showing us the MAC address. So not sure why it's doing that here. But anyway, let's go ahead and continue on. If you look at the network packets using a tool like Wireshark, you will see something similar to the image below. You can see that we have one source IP address on a different subnet than that of the destination subnet, sending ICMP echo requests to all the IP addresses in a target subnet to see which one will reply. And this is what it looks like here on one side of Wireshark. Because ICMP echo requests tend to be blocked, you might also consider ICMP timestamp or ICMP address mask requests to tell if a system is online. Nmap uses timestamp requests ICMP type 13 and checks whether it will get a timestamp reply ICMP type 14. Adding the dash capital P option tells Nmap to use ICMP timestamps request. As shown in the figure below, you expect live host to reply, and this is what it looks like here. In the following, we run the following command here to discover online computers on the target machine subnet. So let's go ahead and try that real quick. Clear this out. I'm going to copy and paste this over, and this is frozen. Okay, there we go. So clear this out of here, and weird. Okay, let me refresh the page real quick. Capital P, and as you can see here, this is what it looks like here, and they have a screenshot of how it looks in Wireshark. It says similarly, Nmap uses address mask queries ICMP type 17 and checks whether it gets an address mask reply type 18. This scan can be enabled with the option dash capital P capital M. As shown in the figure below, live hosts are expected to reply. They're expected to reply to ICMP address and mask requests. So let's go ahead and clear this out. In an attempt to discover live hosts using ICMP address mask queries, we run the following command, which is nmap dash capital P capital N dash SN machine IP slash 24. Although based on earlier scans, we know that at least 8 hosts are up. This scan returned none. The reason is that the target system or a firewall on the route is blocking this type of ICMP packet. Therefore, it is essential to learn multiple approaches to achieve the same result. If one of the packets is being blocked, we can always choose another to discover the target network and services. So if you want to try it out, we can test it out, but we're not going to get any results as they already said. And let's go ahead and continue on here. Although we didn't get any reply and could not figure out which hosts are online, it is essential to note that this scan sent ICMP address mask request to every valid IP address and waited for a reply. Each ICMP request was sent twice, as we can see in the screenshot below. And this is what it looks like here. Well, obviously, it displayed information down here, so I'm not sure why it said we shouldn't have gotten any results, but let's go ahead and continue on. What is the option required to tell Nmap to use ICMP timestamp to discover live hosts? And that was I believe that was one of the first ones we used. So if we scroll back up here, we can see this, it's this dash pp. So that's what I'm going to use for this answer here. What is the option required to tell Nmap to use ICMP address mask to discover live hosts? And if we scroll back up here to see if they're talking about that, it should be this I believe it's this one here. Yeah, echo request. Okay, so this echo request is dash PE, and then this last one here is dash PM is this address mask query, so it's going to be dash PM. And then what is the option required to use echo request? As we saw, that's going to be the dash PE. And let's move on to task number 7 here. Nmap host discovery using TCP and UDP. TCP send ping. We can send a packet with the send flag set to a TCP port 80 by default and wait for a response. An open port should reply with a SYNAC. A closed port would respond or result in a RST, which is reset. In this case, we only check whether we will receive or get any response to infer whether the host is up. The specific state of the port is not significant here. The figure below is a reminder of how a TCP three-way handshake usually works. You got SYN, SYNAC, and then ACK. TCP port is open. If you want Nmap to use TCP SYN ping, you can do so via the option dash capital PS, followed by the port number, range, list, or a combination of them. For example, dash P capital S21 will target port 21, while this one will target ports 21, 22, 23, yada yada yada, all the way up to 25. Finally, um, dash PS 80, 443, 8080 will target just these three specific ports. Privileged users, root and sudoers can send TCP SYN packets and don't need to complete the three-way handshake even if the port is open. As shown in the figure below, unprivileged users have no choice but to complete the three-way handshake if the port is open. This is what it looks like here. So it'll shows you here how to run the command here, and I'm just going to copy and paste this over like we've been doing. So clear all this stuff out of here and paste it. Now, as that is going, let's continue on here. Let's take a closer look at what happened behind the scenes by looking at the network traffic on Wireshark in the figure below. Technically speaking, since we didn't specify any TCP ports to use in the TCP ping scan, Nmap used common ports in this case. It is TCP port 80 any service listening on port 80 is expected to reply, indirectly indicating that the host is online, and this is what it looks like here. So let's go ahead and continue on. TCP ACK ping. As you have guessed, this sends a packet with an ACK flag set. You must be running Nmap as a privileged user to be able to accomplish this. If you try it as an unprivileged user, Nmap will attempt a three-way handshake. By default, port 80 is used. The syntax is similar to TCP send ping dash capital P capital A should be followed by a port number, range, yada yada yada. For example, consider the following here. This is what it looks like, right? Similar to what we've been doing. If no port is specified, port 80 will be used. The following figure shows that TCP packet with an ACK flag should be set. should get a TCP packet back with the reset flag. The target responds with the reset flag set because TCP packet with the ACK flag is not part of any ongoing connection. The expected response is used to detect if the target host is up, and this is what it looks like here. ACK and then reset packet sent back. TCP port is open or closed. In this example, we run the following command here to discover the online host on the target subnet. We can we can see the TCP ACK ping scan detect the 5 host as up. So let's go ahead and try to run this. I went ahead and ran this, and this is what it looks like. If we peek at the network traffic, this is what it looks like here. It says will discover many packets with the ACK flag set and sends to port 80 of the target system. Nmap sends each packet twice. The system that don't respond are offline or inaccessible. And then the next one we're going to talk about here is UDP ping. Finally, we can use UDP to discover if the host is online. Contrary to TCP send ping, sending a UDP packet to an open port is not expected to lead to any reply. However, if we send a UDP packet to a closed UDP port, we expect to get an ICMP port unreachable packet. This indicates that the target system is up and available. In the following figure, we see a UDP packet sent to an open UDP port and not triggering any response. However, sending a UDP packet to any closed UDP port can trigger a response indirectly, indicating that the target is online. And this is what it looks like here. The syntax to specify the ports is similar to the TCP send ping and the TCP ACK ping. Nmap uses the dash P U. So let's get this ready to go. So I'm going to copy this and clear all this information out of here and paste it over. And it should look something like this. Yep, host is up, 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 up. Let's inspect the UDP packets generated in the following Wireshark screenshot. We notice Nmap sending UDP packets to UDP ports that are most likely closed. The image below shows that Nmap uses an uncommon UDP port to trigger an ICMP destination unreachable port unreachable error. And this is what it looks like inside of Wireshark. MassScan. On a side note, MassScan uses a similar approach to discover the available systems. However, to finish its network scan quickly, MassScan is quite aggressive with the rate of packets it generates. The syntax is quite similar. Dash lowercase p can be followed by any port number, list, or range. Consider the following examples, and this is what the examples look like here. MassScan is not installed on the attack box, however, it can be installed using the following. And I'm not going to do that here, but if you want to play around with it, be sure to install it on your machine. If it's not there already, then go out and do some testing with the following commands here. Okay, question time. Which TCP ping scan does not require a privileged account? Which TCP ping scan requires a privileged account? And what option do you need to Nmap to run a TCP ping scan on the telnet port? Okay, and this is our solution here. The first one's going to be the TCP send ping. That one does not require a privileged account. And which TCP ping scan requires a privileged account? That's going to be the ACK ping. And this last one here, you're going to need the -PS and the port number of telnet, which is 23. And let's continue on with task number 8, using reverse DNS lookup. Nmap's default behavior is to use reverse DNS online hosts. Because the host names can reveal a lot, this can be a helpful step. However, if you don't want to send such DNS queries, you can use the dash lowercase n to skip the step. By default, Nmap will look up online host. However, you can use the dash R to query the DNS server, even for offline hosts. If you want to use a specific DNS server, you can add the dash DNS servers the name of the DNS server option. And let's see here. Question time. We want Nmap to issue a reverse DNS lookup for all the possibles hosts on a subnet, hoping to get some insights from the names. What option should we add? And since you want to issue a DNS reverse lookup here, you should use the -R option as stated up here. And let's close this video out with task number 9, summary. You have learned how ARP, ICMP, TCP, and UDP can detect live hosts by completing this room. Any response from a host is an indication that it is online. Below is a quick summary of the command line options for Nmap that we have discovered. And you can see here in the table, you get ARP scan, ICMP echo scan, ICMP time scan, etc., etc. Remember to add the -sn if you are only interested in host discovery without port scanning. Omitting the -sn will let Nmap default to port scanning the live host. And this is another table of the options here. And let's see here. Ensure you have taken note of all the Nmap options explained in this room. To continue learning about Nmap, please join the Nmap Basics Port Scans, which introduces the basic types of port scans. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at next. And this room is kind of messed up, which is why you keep seeing unresponsive here. I'm not sure what's going on with that. But anyway, that wraps up this video, guys. Hopefully you found this of value. And if you did, please consider hitting that subscribe button if you're new here with the notification bell. Hit the like button if you're enjoying the content. Hit the comment section with your thoughts and opinions. As always, thank you all for watching. Have a nice day, and I will see you later.